Hi, this is TrueDame36 with the next episode of PHP tutorials. As well as covering login in this tutorial, we'll also be covering MySQL injection and how you can prevent it. So as just a basic overview of what this one will do, we've got a login page here and you put in your login username and password. We'll just use test and test, that's what I've set, and we hit login and it takes us to the page that we had before. And if we try to, well, we can log out first, but if we try to put in the wrong password and username, we'll get an error like that. And if we try and go to the other page that we had before, it will just automatically redirect us to the login screen here. So if we go into the folder that we've been working in, all we want to do is create two new files called login.php and logout.php. So we'll start off by creating our database, and all we need to do, if you've got our database already, we just want to add a new table to it. So we'll just go create table, we'll call this one users because this will store the users that are allowed in the website, and we'll give it 3 columns. 3 columns we need will be ID, username, and our password. So we'll make the ID auto increment, leave it as an integer, and make the other 2 varchars. I'll just give it a length of 255 each. So if we save, and what we're going to do, we'll make our test user, so we'll open up the users database and we'll go insert, and here we'll just set the username to test, and here we're going to have an MD5 encrypted password column. So what we're going to do is go on something like md5encryption.com, type in the password we want, whatever, and hit encrypt, and then come down here, it'll give you the password, and that's it there for me. I just use test as the password. We'll just click OK there, and that's it. So as you can see, we've made our little HTML here, which you can just copy down. Very similar form to last time with just 2 text boxes and a submit button, just so we can contact the PHP at the top. So we'll start by making the PHP block up here again. And the first thing we want to do is create a session just like last time to get the PHP session started. So obviously session_start. And there's a few things we need to do, and what we'll be doing, I'll explain it in order. It's pretty much we need to get the variables from when we press login from our username and password. We need to strip down the actual text that's inside of them to make sure there aren't any SQL injections within them. And then we need to check the database to see if our username is being found anywhere. Then we need to check if the password matches the one in that same row of the database, and if not, it will give you an error, and if it does, then it will let you go on to the next screen, and it will also set your data for your session so you can access pages as a logged in person. So now all we need to do is make an if statement which will store everything. So we'll check if underscore post, and then the square brackets, and then the quotations login. So it'll check if we've pressed the login button. Then we want to include our database just like before. db.php, we'll actually include that once. And from here, what we'll do is we'll get our username and password variables, which will just be the same as what's down here. So what we need to do is type the $, and then username, and then set that equal to strip underscore tags, and then the post variable of $ underscore post, and then in square brackets username, because that's the data that we posted before. And we can copy this, don't need 2 brackets actually. We can just come down and copy this and change username to password. So what this is doing is removing any little tags or symbols inside the string and make sure that it doesn't have anything that could provide for an SQL injection. To explain SQL injection, what I'll do is I'll make a new variable and call that SQL, and that set that equal to a query just like we would if we were normally contacting the database. So what people could do is, say we've got select all from users, and then where, I don't know, username equals, and then username. What people could do is, where this data here is, they could set their username as something like a comment, and then drop table, and then users, and drop the table. So they'd be commenting everything before here, and then using their own command at the end. and that would run on the database, which we don't want. So what it does when you strip tags, it strips the commenting before it, because that's why they call it injection, because you're pretty much injecting this code into here. It would stop all the code before here, and the only thing that would run would be drop table users, and it would delete the entire database. That's pretty much just a prevention method that we're going to be using. And we're going to use 3 different ones. So we'll copy and paste these down here. Actually, we'll call this one username. We don't need to use the post because we want to edit our username as it already is. So we're going to strip the tags from it. And then after that, we're going to strip the slashes. So strip slashes is the function. And make that same for password. And then we want to come down and do another one, which is mysqli underscore real underscore escape underscore string. So we'll just copy these and change it here. And we'll copy and paste that down there. So now, there's one other prevention method that we want to use, and that's by encrypting the password. So if someone actually manages to get to your database, they won't just see under the password column your actual password. It'll be encrypted. So all we need to do that is get the password variable and set that equal to MD5 and then your password. So this will just convert it to a 32-bit hash that is just random numbers and letters that can be converted using the MD5 algorithm back to your original password. So what you would do if you were creating a sign-up would be to convert the password that you've written to MD5, so whenever you go to log in you have to also convert it to MD5. It's just another layer of protection, but it's not a very solid layer of protection. There are better encryption methods, but this is just basic because the function comes within PHP. So now it's time to talk to our database. So we'll create a new SQL variable, and we'll set this one equal to, similar to before, select all from users, where the username is equal to, and then in little quotations, our username. And then we want to limit that to 1 because we don't want more than 1 coming up. If there are 2 usernames, well, that's probably a problem that you've had with your sign up page and allowing more than 1 of the same username. So we'll make our query variable, and we'll set this equal to our query mysqli underscore query, and that will just pass into that our database and our SQL that we've made. So if we come down, we need to get the rows of data. The 2 things that we need will be our username and our password, as well as our ID, because that's what we'll be setting our session ID to. So with our row, that'll be the row of data that we get from our query. We'll use mysqli underscore fetch underscore array to get our array of data that we've retrieved from the server, and we'll just put in our query. Next thing we'll do is we'll make a variable called ID, and this will just be set to our row that we've retrieved and the data point of ID, which we've made in the users. And all we need to do from here on is grab the password, because we don't actually need the username, because we should have the username already written in our text box, and it's just going to check the database. We don't need to get data from the database that we don't need, so to keep it efficient, we'll only be getting data that we need. So we'll get the database password and set that equal to the row, and then within the row the password. Now we're just going to make an if statement to check once we've pressed the button, after we've converted our string and removed all the things for SQL injection, and we've queried the database for all the usernames that come up with that. We just need to check if the password that we've got in the password box matches the password that is on the database. So to do that, we'll just create an if statement, and we'll check if our password that we've written in the text box is equal to the database's password. Then, actually we need to use double equals here, not single. Then we want to create a new session variable, and this is pretty much local stored data that you can use to maybe store a cart or store if you're logged in. So we'll set the session data of username. We can make whatever we want in here, and we'll just set that to our username. And we'll also set an ID This is also to bring data between different pages, so you can use data across any page without having to re-instantiate it or anything like that. So we'll just use our data, our ID variable that we've used there. So all we need to do now is redirect them to the page that we want them to go to, and by default we'll call this one the location of index.php. And if it doesn't work, we'll just echo out a message saying you didn't enter the correct details, just so the person knows that they haven't put the correct username or password in. So to test this out now, we go to our login page, so it'd be /tut, and if we try and go to this page, we're allowed to go to this page. We need to make it so if we're not logged in, we can't actually access this page, because at the moment we're not logged in because we haven't logged in yet. So we need to come into our folder, and we'll go to our index.php page, and after the session start, we want to make an if statement that checks if not is set. So if the variable of session and then the ID, if that's not set, then we just want to redirect back to the login page, just using the same header function. So now if I refresh, it should redirect us here. Line 4 of login. Oh, I didn't put is set at the top here. Need to have that. Another thing we need to do is we need to pass in our database into this MySQL escape string. So we're just adding our database just before there. So now if we try and enter the incorrect login details into our login form, it'll say you didn't enter the correct details at the top here. But if we do, we've used test and then test login. Like I say, it takes us to this page, and now we can access it. So now what we need to do is make our logout page. So when we want to log out from the website, it destroys our session data. It's very simple. All we want to do is open our new PHP block. We'll start our session, so session underscore start. And then we just want to session underscore destroy to get rid of it. And then close off our PHP. Now what we want to do, this will be a different page that we're going to go to. So all we want to do is make a new HTML block. And then within our page, we want to create something that just auto redirects us somewhere else. So we'll make a meta tag and use HTTP equiv as the parameter, and that'll be refresh, because we want to refresh the page after and we want to send it to somewhere else. So content will be equal to how many seconds we want it to be saying on that page for. We just want 1 second, and then we'll set the URL equal to index.php. And actually we'll set it to login.php because we'll be logging out. We don't want to send them back to the page that we were already at. And then we'll just close that off. So now if we come here, we can see we're logged in. If we refresh, we're on this page, we're allowed. If we go logout.php for 1 second, it takes us back here. So now it's logged us out. If we try and go back to index.php, it redirects us back here. So thank you very much for watching. That's a very simple login system and little explanation of SQL injection. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments or on the forum. Thank you very much for watching.